All right, everybody, welcome, 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 welcome here. Thank you. So we're just getting started. And I know for myself, it's a lovely day. We just had some folks pop off. So anyway, we're gonna just wait a couple of minutes, but we're here. It's Women's History Month, one of our favorite months, BNI Talks, and I'm just so happy because we have really two cool women, sort of in the same area in neighboring areas, cities, states. So that should be exciting. But I don't know if they both know each other. So this is going to be good.
No?
This is yeah. It's like it's in real time. It's like a
Yes.
roller coaster with no seatbelt. So we have we have a really good time here. So welcome to the folks who are here live, and then of course who jump on and join us as well on YouTube. So my name is Claudia Thompson, as always, and I lead the diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts for BNI US. So happy to be here. March is not only my favorite month because of Women's History Month, but of course, it is the month that I was born. So that's exciting as well. And so we're really happy. Like I said, we have two amazing guests here with us today. And as usual, if you notice, it's a DEI panel discussion, but we have now transitioned to BNI talks, which is really exciting for us. And so we're going to expand on what we talk about, but always through a diverse lens. And so we have two amazing women. I'm going to let them just briefly chat about themselves. So first, we have Sylvia, who is a chapter success coach in our Maryland East in the Baltimore area. So Sylvia, why don't you share with the folks, how long you've been in BNI, how long you've been on the team, and then what you do for work.
Excellent. So thank you first for having me on this panel. This is really exciting and yes, very exciting month to be in, coming right off of Black History and right into Women's History Month, pretty important, especially what's going on in the world. So I've been in BNI a little over 7 years, came into it full throttle, went almost immediately into leadership role and been doing chapter success coach for about 5 years, have been in leadership for my own chapter for 7 years out of the Baltimore area. So really have grabbed a hold of Giver's Gain and wanting to share my knowledge with others. And that's why I became a chapter success coach.
I love that. I love that so much. And thank you. And of course, we had Black History Month talk here last month, and it was,
Mhm.
as usual, there's some sort of flagship talks that we have. And definitely that's one of them. So thank you for mentioning that. Thank you for being here. A
Mhm.
fantastic chapter success coach you did not mention. So then we go from, usually we have a random member or a staff member, but we have another coach sort of in the same area, but in Virginia.
Mhm.
Susie Adib, really just getting to know Susie, but she is a rock star as well in her own right, and she's a chapter launch coach. So Susie, why don't you share with us how long you've been in BNI, how long you've been on the team, and a little bit about your business.
Great, thank you, and happy birthday, Claudia.
And it's yeah, it's soon. It's the 25th for everyone
Oh,
that is out there in
excellent.
the world. Yes, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So yes, my name is Susie Adib. I'm a chapter launch coach. I've been a launch coach for about a year. I've launched 2 chapters, and it's been so great and wonderful. I love being able to help chapters start and pursue their BNI journey. I've been in BNI for almost 11 years now. I was pregnant with my son when I joined. I'm part of Alexandria the Great, and we're in Northern Virginia. I've been a coach with BNI for 3 years and then a launch coach for the last year. So it's been a really fun journey. I love that transition into launching from a chapter coach.
Mhm.
Yes, I love that. My heart, as many people have told me in BNI, I have a launcher's heart. So while I'm in support, of course, I'm director of field operations for the Northeast for BNI US Corps, and have been a managing director. I really launch is just my true passion and what I got started in. So happy to have you both here and very appreciative of what you both do. So we're going to jump right in. So this is, of
Okay.
course, it is just almost midway point of Women's History Month. March is a nice long month for us to celebrate. So I'm curious, is there any rituals or anything that you do to really celebrate Women's History Month? So I'm going to start off with Susie since she just spoke.
Sure. I try to, I don't have really rituals per se. I do talk to my daughter a lot about the journey that women have taken and the great things that we've done. Um, as a profession, my industry is pretty male dominated. I'm in insurance, I'm a commercial insurance broker. And so there's not many women in that field. And so I try and talk to her about the path that I have taken while still making it fun because she's 14 and, trying to get her to listen to me and understand what I'm saying at that young age is a little bit different. But we do talk about some great women throughout the ages and try to talk about how we've come so far and to keep pushing that envelope. Whatever you want to do, you're able to do it. Look how far we've come.
Absolutely. And I come from sales as well, male dominated. So important, especially the journey I think that we've taken. And I'm not going to presume anyone's age, but I know myself, I'm in Gen X. I'm an Xennial. So, the journey, yeah. So that journey is quite the journey, right? Like, we're going to get into it more, but I love that you shared about that for sure. Yeah. So what, so Sylvia, I'm curious about you. What do you do?
So my children are grown, so I don't get to share, the historical, but I do have a grandson. So I definitely try to make sure to incorporate books for him that speak to what women have powerhouse through and, just kind of show him as not only a business owner, but also for someone who works for a company, how women can be in leadership, to give him, examples. And then just on a personal side, making sure that those who are in my tribe and my networks that they're focusing on their self-care and they're focusing on career goals and being accountability partners for folks who are trying to get to where I've already been in a 20 some year career. So I think that's my ministry. That's how I help.
I love that. I love that. And I have one son and one stepson, and so they have been surrounded by so many powerful women. My son recently, I talk about it every time, and I'll talk about it to the end of time because he got into law school, which is just like a whole feat in itself. And he had just recently said to my mom, like, I've seen all of the women in my life work really hard. So I think it's also like one thing to lead by example, but also to like be intentional about teaching, especially young men, about the power that women have. So I
Right.
love that you're doing that. And the fact that you're a grandmother is kind of blowing my mind. I'm trying to be cool about it. But that's okay. That means you're fabulous. You're drinking your water and minding your business. So that's perfect. I love it. Yeah. So, but I think that more intentionality of teaching, and even, Susie mentioning with her daughter, but just with the children in general, just kind of letting them know,
Right.
how important that is. So that's great.
Yeah.
So feminism, the other F word. So some people, and I don't know what this means to people because sometimes it's interesting. I'll talk to some women, especially, again, Susie, you and I being in like male dominated industries. I think a lot of times with feminism and feminists, I feel like there's like this, it's like a dirty word, or like some women are like, no, I'm not like one of those people. But what does that mean to you? Like, what does it mean to be a feminist today in this day and age, especially?
It's funny that you say that. I have a group of great girlfriends that I met through BNI, and we're still on. We meet on a regular basis for coffee, for lunch, and we're just each other's rocks. And we talk about this topic all the time because we've had to, all of us in our careers had to battle that stereotype and come up through the ranks, to be successful as a woman and being seen as successful compared to your colleagues, even if you are a mother, even if you are married, without being penalized for taking maternity leave. And it's funny because I constantly say, I want equality. Of course, we all want equality, right? But what does that look like for us? It looks like us being paid exactly the same and being taken for the same responsibility. When you have someone in the same profession who is with their child and they're giving props for being able to, oh, you're a great dad. You have your kid with you, took him to work today. That's wonderful. But as a woman, oh, you brought your kid today. Oh, you didn't have a babysitter, and you're penalized for it. I have a friend of mine, and I'll say, but I still want the man who's chauffeurs. I want the men to open the doors. I still want that men should open doors and, pull out the chair. I still want that part of the chivalry. And some of my friends will make fun of me, like, you can't have it both ways, but I can. I just want the respect of being on the same level playing field as you.
Oh my goodness, Susie. We now we have another thing that we can talk about and bond over. So yeah, so again, my mother is an entrepreneur. She has a very successful business, hundreds of employees, right? And so like I think and in general too, and Sylvia, even you can add to this as being a woman of color. I feel like people in general, but if you're working like as a woman, and they sometimes it's like, well, you wanted equal rights, so I don't have to pull out the chair for you or open the door. And I'm like, no, like I like soft, be soft with me. Like I don't just assume that I'm out here like, like I don't like to lift things or do manual labor. That's not my jam. I don't do those things. And the need to be, I have been passed over for so many positions that I know that I've been overqualified for. And then someone comes in that has been in the company for like a fraction of the time, less experience, less results, and I have to tap dance like 3 times as much to kind of get that. And so to own that. And so I think to be a feminist, what I'm hearing you say, Susie, is like, yeah, like it's the balance of the two. And we've worked really hard, but also like the sisterhood that you're talking about of being with other women, like I still want that as well. So it's really like complex. There is no like, here's the definition of feminism.
Right.
From what I'm hearing, is if I got that right. So
Definitely, yes.
I would
I want to
say-
be seen like that. Yes.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
say
Oh,
in this
perfect.
decade, it's not so much as just being these powerhouse women that don't need anyone and don't need support. It is about championing for our rights, for our equality in the workplace and the homestead, because there is a change of dynamic when you think about a woman who works, who is in power versus a woman who's going to be shying away from those type of things. So you want to be able to be supported by your spouse and your significant other in your endeavors, whatever they may be. You want to have equal latitude on the playing field. If you're coming with the same credentials or better credentials, you want to have someone say that, yes, you stand above the crowd, and you don't want to handshake someone in business who is shaking your hand to see if you're going to power handshake them back. Like, you wouldn't do that to a man, so why are you doing it to me? I used to say that to military folks all the time, and I gained a respect for military women because they would do it to me, and I'd have to say, we're on the same team. I know where you've been, and I know what you've been through, so you don't have to reel my hand down to let me know that you deserve your respect. I respect you because you're in uniform, not because you gripped my hand hard. So that, I think it's a matter of perspective. We've got some ways to go, but we're getting little bit by little bit, we're getting where we want to go.
I love that you said that, you kind of touching on the fact, again, it goes back to like who's tough and who's hard, or like, and if and like we can't show emotion because then it's going to show that we're soft or we're weak.
Right.
So you have to be, I have to be tough, and I have to show you, I'm not a human. I have to be almost like robotic or something else. And I think that again, I think you're right to the point of being, particularly in this time right now, forget about the decade, in this moment, how, again, we're not a monolith. Everyone is different. And also like, it's a more complex than people think. It's not like we're one way or another way, like we're all these different ways, right? Because we're human. And so I think that's what I love about empowered women. And it's pretty amazing because now I get to work for an amazing woman who works for a gentleman who works for an amazing woman. So
Right.
there's a lot of powerful women. And, our CEO, of course, is at the helm. This is unheard of in our organization. And I've always worked in corporate. So I really love that point that you brought about. So now curious.
Before you move on, can I just say one thing about that Sylvia touched on about the handshake? I just have to mention that because growing up, we weren't as girl. I'm Generation X too. I'm first generation. My parents were immigrants, so we weren't brought up to be tough. But my parents still instilled in us that you have to be able to take care of yourself. with the intention of, you're going to get married, but you still have to be able to take care of yourself. So working and college and education was very important. But we never learned how to properly handshake. And so I remember when I was in a corporate job, and we had a lot of women coming into the sales industry, and we would actually, I had a great manager, and we would sit there and teach each other how to shake hands properly, because it's something that as women, no one sits down and teaches us how to do that. But we have to learn how to be, like you said, those power plays when they're trying to shake your hand, you have to learn how to compete with that. I think it's very important that, and now I think people are so different now that it's not a big deal as it was before, but it was something we did have to learn to be competitive with, even just the handshake.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that you talked about that. We'll talk more about workplace environment and things like that, actually, because just the kind of secrets that we're supposed to know that we don't know, right? Like, because no one's told us, because it's just been passed down from like, bud to bro to whoever, and we get like kind of lost in the shuffle. So to that point, what are your thoughts about women in the workplace? Is it getting better or worse or the same? So I think, again, we're in an interesting time right now. And so I would love to hear, both your thoughts on this if you could. So I don't know so Sylvia, you could start first, actually. Go ahead.
Sure. I think in some instances things are getting better. You're seeing power women in leadership roles where some companies may have been for a very long time all male dominated. Just like BNI, we're seeing some of the top companies across the U.S., across the world now being head up. I mean, look at Mexico. You've got a woman president. So it definitely is taking strides for us, but there are still so many challenges. Susie touched on that, when a woman comes in, if she's interviewing and she's pregnant, or she's in her role and she becomes pregnant, that can change the trajectory of her career with that company so easily, whether she doesn't get hired or whether she's passed over for, getting promotions or projects assigned to her. It does change how people see women still in the workforce. Even though some women go out, they come back in a few weeks, they rock and roll like they never even left, but people still have in their back of their minds that this is something that, oh, this is a bad thing. And even in the case when you look at men who go out for maternity leave or paternity leave, as they call it, they also get frowned upon because they want to go home and support the wife so that she's not. It is such a kind of, I don't want to say mucky, but it's not clearly defined. So companies have not pinpointed how should we handle this and how should we address it. It's some of the things that can create, hostile environments for some of the workforce too, because people feel like I'm not supported. People don't care about me as a person. I'm just a body in a company.
Yes, such a good point. Because at the pregnancy thing, like, I don't think people realize the history of legislation that has gone through over the years to help us. Like, you used to you could get fired for being pregnant, like legit. Like, you could just, obviously now, with FMLA, there's a lot more protections. Well, at the moment, there's protections. And so, but it's interesting, right? I mean, in other countries, they have parental leave, which you mentioned, like for a year, like in general, for everybody. They're like 6 weeks is not enough, right? And so I think, that's one part of it. So it's kind of like looked at, but it's like almost like expected of the woman. Like because say like she wants to go back, like your body needs to physically recover after giving birth. But there's adoption. There are foster parents. There are parents of same sex. So like there's so many different nuances. And so I think that when we talk about equity, we have to be fair at some point to say, okay, well, the parents are creating this environment for this child. So yeah, the men should be able to do that. So like, I think it is challenging though, as well. Like you said, like I just mentioned before, we have a female CEO. That is pretty dope. That's like a pretty cool thing. In my position, I mean, to even be in my position, we weren't seeing many people at these levels. And so and with the trajectory to move up. So I'm excited about that. But I'm curious to get Susie's thoughts because it's interesting. Yeah.
I definitely think it's much better. I think when we were coming up, the people in charge were an older generation. So they weren't used to seeing that. And they were used to how, the good old boys network. I know when I had my daughter and my son, when I had my children, both of them, and I was nursing in the office, I had to fight tooth and nail for just a room that I can sit down and nurse in. Or I had to bring a cooler because they kept calling HR on me. I had to bring a cooler to put the milk in because they were complaining all the time. If I used the break room, I'm hogging the break room. It was a big fight just to be able to pump at work because I had children. Keeping my, the company I worked for at the time, we were rated at weekly on our numbers and what we sold each week and monthly. And to have to constantly go back and say, well, my numbers are down because I took maternity leave. You can't count the time I was gone because I was on maternity leave, and them not seeing that. And then, like you said, being passed over and things like that. I think the generation we grew up with, or the way we came up, where we had older men in charge, they didn't see that. I think the generation now is so much better because we've gone through all of that. Now we have a more fluid generation that understands each other. There's those lines are not defined like what we were used to. And I think that there's so many more opportunities, and we're going to see a lot of great things. And eventually a woman president, I'm praying for, because we've had a woman vice president. We need to take that next step. The people voting now, the people coming up now are really changing the face of how we see the world.
Uh-oh. Lost her.
Wow. Yeah, I'm back.
There you
That was so crazy. I was so excited. You said there was so many good things there, Susie, that you said for sure. And of course we want a woman president. So anyway, that's the only part I'm going to say that's semi-political. But yes, but I think what I think is really great too, because it is, a lot of it is generational. I think it was just like, this is the way that it is. Like, why are you asking for more? You get a credit card now without your husband. Like, why are you complaining? Like, why do you expect all these things? And the struggle, I mean, we have a nursing room in our office as well. We only have one employee that qualifies to use it, and she's actually away now on leave in our building. So, but we have it available. And actually in this state and in many, and if not most states now, they require a nursing room, a designated nursing room. So we had to, when we were buying the real estate for this, when we were, choosing real estate, we had to make sure that there was a designated room. So I know what you're talking about, because it's not even just like oh goodness, I'm being a hassle of like, where was my milk going? Like, where do I nurse? It's another level of like, the choice to nurse. Is this going to be a hassle when you want to do what's right for your child? Like the choice that you've chosen to nurture your child that's a baby, and like, can I even do this? Are they going to because I'm going to annoy people at work? Like that's the levels of which we have to think about when someone wants to make that kind of conscious choice for their child. So I think that we have, in that sense, definitely have gotten better. And I think the Alpha Gen or whatever they're called, or the Gen Z, they're definitely different. My son is Gen Z, like their mindsets are completely different. They're like, why would we not do this? So I think there is hope for me. I hope there's hope for for the future. I don't know when that comes, when it's like the air, it's as common as the air we breathe. So I do see things better, definitely. Again, I mean, I have been, sexually harassed at work before, inappropriate comments. I saw that sort of dissipate probably post Me Too, where it wasn't acceptable, where people had to think twice about what they said and did. So it is getting better, and I still think that there's definitely a ways to go. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so. So what are some opportunities that you see for women to excel in their careers, or any kind of like resources put out there? So I don't know if you see any, Yeah, go ahead, Susie.
Oh, me first? Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
I think women, the way we look at things, the way we can take even running our families and our households and be able to apply that to our jobs and career really makes us stand out. I think in the past, women were so afraid. We were taught to be afraid to mention any kind of home life, or you take those and implement them at work, because those are two separate lives we had to leave, right? Your work life and then your home life. Where now it's one big open area. And so being able to utilize those skills at work and use those in your everyday business practices, I think that really helps women excel, and they're encouraged now to bring that out and open to the forefront.
Absolutely. Sylvia, I don't know if you have anything to add to this.
Yeah, I think that some of the great opportunities are that companies are taking more a look at the culture in their organizations, and how things have typically not been centered around caring about the person, more so the productivity. And that really lends to a more nurturing environment, which makes it a little, I would say, more open-minded for women in spaces that they may not have been in before, making, management cognizant of when there is sexual harassment happening and hostile work environments because of comments that they allow to go on in the workplace that make women and people non-binary, same-sex relationships, those type of things, making comments that in open space may have been, just ignored, are now not acceptable, which makes the workplace a lot better for not only women, but for others in that space. So I think that it definitely allows them once to look at, okay, what are my true resources in this company, despite of their gender? Who's got the education, who's got the experience, and who has the passion? Because, we used to be called emotional creatures. Um, who has the passion about my company that I can put into this position and take and stop ignoring their art, their craft. And I think that is the biggest opportunity for women right now.
Yeah. Wow. You said this was so good. So yeah, I think so. I mean, when talking about, again, sexual harassment, sexual, like the inappropriateness, being able to just feel like you can get away with whatever you want and treat people however you want. The thing that people don't understand too, because there is a controversy right now going on of like DEI hires and like, are we excelling people? Are we lowering the bar? Because as if you have to for women, like we obviously keep everything running. And but in all seriousness, I find that, saying that is completely inappropriate. But I also find that, a lot of times we're starting to uncover it gets away. There's protections against nepotism, against favoritism. So that way we can actually put people forward and actually give them the tools. And again, kind of unlock the secrets that they've been keeping to themselves. Right. Sometimes it's not secrets, just like I golf with them 3 days a week. So they're gonna get the job. Like that's like, okay, great. So I'm gonna learn. I mean, seriously, that's how I learned to golf. Because our trip, we would do well for the month. And so we would and I was like, let's go to a spa. And all the guys were like, no, let's go golf. So like I got really good at golf because I wanted to be able to keep up and show that I was competent, but that has nothing to do with my ability to do my job in my role, right?
Right.
So I think that I think that, but that was something I had to do to excel. So I think now there definitely are more leadership ERGs, and I think that there's some leadership opportunities that they're trying to do, more professional development for women to ensure that that they're positioned well to actually vie for the job for their male counterparts. So
Exactly.
yeah. So speaking of gender roles, you kind of mentioned non-binary as well, but do we think that we're still stuck in gender stereotypes when it comes to those roles?
I would say yes, in some senses. And sometimes it's not necessarily from the company, but sometimes it's from the consumer or from the forward-facing client that looks and says, "Oh, it's a woman. She's not going to know much. She's not going to know. She doesn't know this business well enough." And I've been in BNI spaces where I've had members in my chapter who weren't addressing me, and I was wondering if it was because I was a woman or because of the role that I have in my company, not as a business owner in this company, but you hadn't had a conversation with me to know that I had business outside of what I do for this company that sits above my head. So, being able to look beyond the exterior to get to know the person is very important, because the whole purpose of BNI is we need to learn about you, and we need to learn about the context that you have behind you. And if you don't even take the opportunity to talk to someone because you're looking at my gender, you don't know who you're missing that's in my context that is not even 6 degrees of separation to the person you need to connect with. So I think people are still kind of working their way through that. And it's getting better, but I always say that there's lots of room for improvement.
Sorry. Yes, I think, yeah, I think you're right. I think that there's still those mindsets. And you talk about in the BNI chapter, even like assuming for a long time, the executive leadership team was not like, it was always like the men. And then the women were like, well, you can do membership or, at best, right? But maybe you could do an education coordinator or a visitor host. Like even the roles that they would assume for us. And so a lot of times people are like, I don't get it. We do want more women in the group. And like, well, your executive leadership team should at least have one woman. Because if I see a woman leading at the front of the room every week, I'm going to assume like you respect her enough. So there's an opportunity for me. And when it comes into business, I mean, I'm still in meetings at time. I have, for most of my career, I've been a sales manager or director, and I've had white men that report to me. And so if I'm out in an event, they'll assume that they're my boss. And so they'll say that, actually, Claudia is my supervisor. And so then I'm like, that's right. So I
Speaking of
think,
leadership team, my leadership team for my chapter right now is all women. Where our VP is transitioning out, but we were sitting there, we're going, oh my God, it's 3 women at the top of this chapter. That's pretty cool because
Mhm.
you don't see that very often.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Susie's launching, of course. And I remember a chapter that we launched in Philly a couple years back. And they happened to just be 3 women at the ELT. Like when we launched it, we kicked it off. So everybody was so impressed with that. So like, what's the likelihood that they're going to bring in more folks, and that's going to be a more diverse chapter. So Susie, I'm curious on your thoughts on this.
I definitely think it's getting better. I think that I feel like the gender stereotypes are more generational than all around. I think this younger generation that's taking over is really breaking those barriers. But to your point about launching, I'm launching a chapter now, and it's predominantly women. There are 3 men in the entire chapter. They're about ready to launch now. There's 25 people, and then even the guy who started it, and it was a man who started it, and he even said, I don't know how this happened, but they're all women. So I let them, they take the reign, they tell me what to do. And it's really great to see that, where in the past, the business owners would have been predominantly men. So I think it's this whole generation that I think all of our stereotypes have changed.
Yeah, no, it's oh God, with the launch, I remember I was launching a chapter in Massachusetts, and it was a man who started it with one woman, and then I think they ended up at the time we launched with 22 members, and there were 17 women when we launched the chapter because they had posted in a women's networking group, one which I was a part of building back then in a social media, and it just most of the women, they were like kind of like, you got to come to this thing, you have to join this group. And so we were like, wow, this is pretty cool, so I think you're right. I think, and then even in that chapter, all the tradespeople were women. It was incredible. The GC, the painter, the electrician. Yeah, so I think it is getting a little bit better. I've said this maybe before on this talk, like my sister lives in Munich, right? So when I tell people Germany, a lot of times they look at me and then they're like, oh, is she military? They just assume. I'm like, she's a professor. Like, what made you assume that military? Like, right? Like, but they just assumed that she wasn't, which is a whole other problem, right? It's another layer of microaggression that I don't want to deal with. But yeah, so that I think that we are getting a little bit better, but there's still something we revert back. I think when they're younger, there's less assumptions. That's my opinion. Yeah. So in networking, of course, we're a networking organization. What has your experience been as a woman in networking situations? So Susie, we'll start with you.
I think it's been great, actually. It's been more, I find it, as a woman networking, I find it more, I find it easier. We're easier to approach. And typically we're drawn to each other. So I'll typically go up to other women to start those conversations, especially if I'm in a place where I don't know anybody. That's naturally where I'll gravitate to. I find it now much easier and more comfortable to go out and network by myself. Whereas in the past, when I first started in my career, I was uncomfortable because it was a predominantly male environment that I'd go into. And it was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. You got to psych yourself up. Whereas now, women are just so inclusive and we do rally around each other. So walking into a space where I don't know anybody, I have no problems going in and talking and aligning with those women. And we help build each other up.
That's so good. I love that. I love that. I think, I think in a lot of times, and I tell people to divide and conquer if you're going as a woman, but make sure that you're opening the space. Because I think, and again, back in the day, I'd go to networking events and men would almost kind of cut, they say, keep it open if you want people to come in. And so it depends. So if someone was like, kind of, they're trying to sell me their product, they'll come over. But otherwise, and even then, like 22 years ago, I've been in BNI. So like I was younger. I was, there's an assumption that like I can't do anything like Sylvia said, like for them. Like they don't know who I know. They don't know who I'm connected to. And so they don't know who I just met last week at a networking event. They just make an assumption that there's not going to be, a fruitful opportunity on the other side. So yeah, that's a good point. And then Sylvia, what about yourself?
Yeah, I would say that over the years, especially being in BNI for 7 years, changed the game for me for networking. So it used to be in sales, it was always, how many business cards are you bringing back? And I was like, this is such a waste of my time. Who cares about these business cards? Like, they're never going to really do business with me. So it definitely changed the game with BNI because I went in with a different perspective. So when I go to networking events, it really is find those open doors. Who's got the open space and who's got the closed space? Who's on the list that I've already checked off to make sure I meet them or introduce them to somebody so that I can invite them to a BNI meeting. Like, so it really has been, I think I open doors myself just because I'm a personable person and I find things to talk to people about, whether it's their glam peeps or, whatever to connect with folks, or, look for familiar faces and ask for introductions. But I think that had my mindset not changed about how to network and how to enter a space, it would still be, pretty much closed door. I'd come back with 6 business cards that I just call and be like, hey, I met you. It was nice to meet you, and move on. And now with the giver's gain mindset, you go in with the situation a little bit different. Even as a woman, you approach differently. Your eyes are more keen to who to look for to make those approaches.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, no, that's such a good point. And because I think about too, I'm an extrovert. No one's surprised by that. And I think about the introverts. And like I've done trainings and classes on how to network effectively. And a lot of times the introverts are like, I'll go home. Like I'll go, and if no one's talking to me, I'm out. So like imagine someone like spent the time or the money or the effort, like got a sitter.
Yep.
I mean, people do all kinds of things. So I really like, to your point, Sylvia, thinking of that giver's gain, like someone took some, even as an extrovert, I get burnt out. So like, even if like sometimes I'm tired, I don't have to pay a toll or sit in traffic. So it took something to be there. And so you really want to respect people and honor them and not make assumptions about people. So
And see,
yeah.
my introvert tip,
Yeah.
and it works like magic. I always find a cocktail table and I stand there by myself. The introverts will find a way to come
Yeah.
over because they're like, she's got a table and I can put my stuff down. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, come on over. And I've got some open space. And they're like, oh, thank you. And then I've got the wallflower who's leaning against the wall with her plate, and we have a conversation. Guys too, men are
Yeah.
wallflowers too. So, if I, can find a table where I can make it easy for them to enter, and exit if they want, then, we have a quick conversation and move on.
That is
I'm
a
gonna steal
great
that
tip.
tip. I'm gonna steal it.
I
I'm gonna
like
steal
that.
it. I love it. I'm gonna act like it was mine.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Share
No,
it.
no, no. In all seriousness, I will credit you. That is a fantastic tip. I love that. I
Yep.
love that. So curious, this is a signature question that we ask everyone. Self-care is super important. So I'm just curious, Sylvia, what do you do for self-care?
My husband and I go to work out. at Planet Fitness. We usually go there for 2 hours. We treadmill, we do our circuit or weight training. We focus on different things, and that time with him in the gym is a great relaxer. I try to go treat myself to a facial or a massage at least once a month just to decompress. And when I find that I'm just mentally just wiped, I reset. I play some chakra music, just calm myself,
Yes.
try to recenter. And then some days you just have to walk away and say, you know what?
Hmm.
It's not going to get done today because my mind is not in the right place, and come back. So
I love
at,
that.
at this age of 52, you can't let it kill you. You can't let stress take you out. So I've learned to walk away and focus on myself.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, the gym too. People are like the gym. That's not self-care. But I'm like, yes, my goodness. I'm like,
Yes, it
yoga,
is.
give me
Because
all
the
that. Like move
that
my body.
energy, yeah, that the next day I
Yeah.
just feel so energized after, working out, and it might be a little sore from, weights or
Hmm.
whatever, but it still feels good. Your mental has been like you did something for your body, and so it feels good.
Yeah. Awesome. Yes, definitely. Thank you. Susie,
Mhm.
how about you?
I realized how important self care was about 3 years ago. I was transitioning from my corporate job to working for the broker I work with now, and I was working with a life coach. And I totally neglected myself prior because I was always, you're working, you're always going, you're always pushing yourself. And so she instilled in me the importance of self care. So for me, it's either a bubble bath when I just really want to relax, or like you said, like a nice hike or bicycling with my dog somewhere I could just go. I have an attachment for my dog on my bike, and we just go. And being able to work out everything going on in my mind and relieve all of that stress. If I don't come back dripping wet and sweat, then it wasn't a good bicycle ride.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy the weather has changed. We can get back out there again because
I
we've just been
If you
know.
both
hiking.
love hot, if you both love sweat, hot yoga, 112 degrees. But most people look at me like I am absolutely crazy. I was just talking to Claire in the office, who's on the ELT, and I was like, and she's like, I like Pilates, and I was like, come with me to hot yoga. She's like, oh my God, no, that's awful. So but yeah, but it is something about movement, right? There is a nervous system, and we're all human, and so being able to move and shake that energy out, I think is really helpful. But I love that you both are using movement as a tool for self-care. I love that for
I
sure.
love the saying, you cannot pour out of an empty cup.
You
So if
can't.
you're not
Yeah.
pouring into yourself
Yep.
at
Yes.
least once a month,
Yep.
then you are giving and giving and never restoring yourself. So you
Right.
have to take some time. You have to. I learned the hard way, years and years of 70, 80 hours a week,
Yes.
hardly
Yep.
eating, hardly sleeping,
Hmm.
that wears on your body, and eventually your body will sit you down.
I used
So
to wear it
you've
as a
you've
badge
got
of
to,
honor.
yeah,
I used to wear it as a badge of honor,
yep,
and like, people I was like, I didn't sleep at all, and I'm working, 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 and it's people are like, oh, great, wow, that
yeah,
you're fun. Now, like who'd want to hang out with that?
right.
Because I would like pass out.
Mhm.
So I think that's why we always ask this question, because I think it's important for people to get ideas, or to know that everyone, no matter how hard they work, no matter how high they are up, and in fact, the people that are more successful often make sure they prioritize self-care. So.
Yep,
And I guess
absolutely.
especially with the hustle and bustle and the ins and outs, and the emotions,
Yeah.
I think it definitely makes a difference. Now we're gonna wrap up here. I mean, I'm curious of the future, because I mean, I got to tell you, like, if you asked me 5 years ago about where we would be right now, I actually thought we would be in a different place. So I'm curious, Susie, where do you see women in business in the next 5 to 10 years, and what do you think will change?
I have to be honest. I did think we would be in a different place. I thought we would be more, there'd be more women in business. I feel like we have taken a few steps back. And I'm hoping we just need to reset, because sometimes, no matter what you're working on, right, you need to take a step or two back before you can launch forward. So I'm hoping that's what we're seeing right now. But I do expect that in the next at least 10 years, we'll see a huge shift in change as far as women in the workforce. And I think the workforce will look different as far as not so corporate, more coming to you, more things online like we're doing now. I think we'll see the entire workforce as a whole changing, where you won't have as many offices to sit at. You'll have everybody more outside. I think we'll see a huge shift in that, because I feel that coming now as I'm talking to people who are starting new businesses, who are doing different things. And that's one thing I love about my job, is that I'm talking to people and they're telling me their jobs, and it's like, I didn't even know that was a thing. That's awesome. Like, your job is to go out to customers and work with them directly. That's amazing. Whereas in the past, it's been people coming to you. So I think we'll see a huge shift like that, where it'll be more women and family friendly. I do see that.
I 100% agree about all of that, especially the family friendly piece. I think since COVID, right?
Yes.
Because when it was before, like I would, I've been in sales, I've been in remote sales. So sometimes if I had to pick my son up early, if he was homesick, I'd be like, shh, son, I'm on a call. And it's, like, don't say anything.
Yes.
And then when COVID, it was like people used to come on with their bathrobe, and I was like, oh my goodness. So like the dog would show up. I'm like, wow, everyone's just kind of casual. I think people, still staying polished and professional as possible, but also being human. It kind of
Yes.
humanized us. And so which definitely was a champion, definitely an effort that benefited women, because we have all those things going on. We're cooking dinner, it's kids screaming, and there's homework and everything else. So I think people became a little bit more open. So I do think that hopefully that it will be more open to all kinds of families.
Yes.
Sylvia, anything else to add? What do you see?
I I feel like we have kind of a split dynamic. I feel like the pandemic opened up the doors for a lot of women to say, you know what, I don't have to work in someone's 9 to 5. I can be an entrepreneur. I can be a business owner. I could have multiple streams of income and be a multi-newer, as I call them. They're not just doing what typically has been what females should do. They are becoming the sole proprietors of their businesses, and they're skyrocketing, whether they're online or they're going to people's homes, traveling chiropractors, estheticians who come to the home, healthcare givers. I've seen a real expansion in folks who are doing those businesses so that they can set their own schedules, but they're making their money, because it's when they punch in and when they punch out, it's on their dime. Um, for corporate America, I think we definitely have taken a few steps back. And like you said, I'm hoping that this will be an opportunity for us to reset and reassess some of the old policies that are still underlying some of the new policies that they're putting out there that really need to be done away with and rewritten. And I think that we as power women in these organizations can really be the driving force to realigning and reassessing the cultures in those businesses.
Yes, I agree. It's funny that, you're talking about all the sort of mobile, I'd be lost without my mobile Reiki massage therapist, and she is a BNI member, of course. Hi, Deanna.
Yes, and so is my
Yeah.
chiropractor. I'm about to
I'm
call
like,
her.
no, I don't have time to come to your office.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where was all of this when my son was in the home? And I was in sales, like, my goodness. So I think, again, I think this is something that we could benefit. I mean, because women are kind of the ones leading this, because that's the case. And I also think too, some of the roles, I'm talking about gender roles, but I think a lot of assumptions, even what I have seen is more stay-at-home dads. A lot more of that. So not assuming that the wife has to stay. If she wants to, great, but maybe I want to go back to work and I'm the breadwinner. I see more women that are breadwinners of the home. So I think it's just different, and especially with other alternative lifestyles, just everyone. I think that they're just going to be changes in general. So that's the hope. That's what I'm manifesting. And we're in a celestial time, but it's very strong to manifest. So I'm just gonna put that out in the universe that that's what's happening.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I definitely see that. So that is pretty much it. I want to thank you both for being on. This was fantastic.
Yes,
I'm
great
always
conversation.
excited, very excited. And, this was a great conversation. And so for those of you that are watching afterwards, for those who have joined us here, thank you. But more importantly, folks who came, you can comment on the YouTube, and you can find us. Are you both on LinkedIn? Are you open to people reaching out to you on
Yes.
LinkedIn?
Yes.
So you can take note of their name and find them. and reach out to them for one-to-one for our BNI members. And yeah, and so I'm just very grateful for powerful women every time. And both of you, I'm happy to say I work with, I collaborate with, and I'm happy that you're part of our BNI family. So thank you. Yes, yes. So next month, everyone, same time, same bat channel. We have every second Wednesday of the month at 3 p.m. Eastern. Next month, BNI Talks, we are going to talk inclusivity for visitors, and we're going to be joined by the amazing Jenny Butts. So you don't want to miss that. So thank you all again. And if you have a topic that you want us to cover in mind or want to be a potential guest, feel free to reach out to me, Claudia Thompson at BNI.com. Otherwise, for now, thank you so much, and we will see you next month.
Thanks, guys. Have a
Thank
great
you.
one.
Bye-bye.